feeling like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond in the shrimp tank.
Welcome back to another episode of the Shrimp Tank. We come to you virtually from Seattle and the entire Pacific Northwest, the great PNW. Listen, if you want to learn how to start, grow, or run a successful business, I'm here to tell you, you are in the right place. This is where we say street smarts and book smarts collide. Hello again, everyone. I'm Dan Weedin. I'm joined by my co-host, Craig Swanson. Our guest today is Josiah Mokelu, and I'm really excited to have Josiah. At just 24 years old, Josiah isn't your average video producer. He's the dynamo behind Lucidity Media Group, a name synonymous with crystal clear storytelling. Josiah's mission is to shine a spotlight on the unsung heroes of the business world, leaders making real waves in their communities. Josiah's portfolio is as diverse as it is impressive. From the strategic precision of law firms to the warm, caring world of in-home care and the dynamic realm of chiropractic health, Josiah's filmed it all. Lucidity isn't just a fun name either. It's Josiah's promise to you: clarity, punch, and a story well told. He's also a fellow Rotarian, so I'm really excited to have him on the show. Welcome, Josiah. We will be with you in just a minute. Everyone, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. We are on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Craig, I didn't forget, Overcast, and YouTube. You might say we're ubiquitous. Now, before we bring on Josiah, hello, Craig. It seems like it's been forever.
Hello, Dan. It does feel like it has been forever. Like this is just so refreshing to get back into the rhythm here.
It's back in the rhythm. We're post Thanksgiving. We're getting ready for. I'm getting ready for a big Husky win on New Year's Day as a University of Washington grad. I was very excited about that. But you know what? It's the holiday season, right? It's the holiday season, regardless of the holiday that you choose to celebrate or the end of the year or whatever. It's that time of year. And I just know we all have different traditions that we do. I've got some traditions. Mine involves a favorite Christmas movie. So I was going to have a little fun with you, Craig, and see, do you have a favorite Christmas holiday or a holiday tradition in your family?
You know, I was thinking about that. So we were talking about movies, and I've got a guess as to what yours is.
I thought you might guess. That's why I didn't tell it.
Yeah. I mean, so for me, like age, just kind of like, I'm guessing Die Hard because that's mine, but I don't know.
It's not Die Hard.
It's not. All right.
How about I'll give you another shot. It's actually what we would call a more traditional Christmas movie.
Well, I'm going to just stick with my traditional Christmas movie, which is Die Hard. So
okay,
we'll just start with that.
Mine is the wonderful story of a wonderful guy called Jimmy Stewart, who also, of course, plays George Bailey, James Stewart, and It's a Wonderful Life. My favorite movie. It must be watched between the 20th and the 24th. I have rules that apply to it, as you might imagine, in the family. I've had to be a little bit flexible as we've had different age groups come in over the years as far as when and how and all of that. But mine is definitely It's a Wonderful Life.
Oh, see, that is traditional and sweet. I'm
a traditional and sweet kind of guy, Craig.
Yeah. So me and my son, we watch Die Hard on, as we get nearer into Christmas, and we're kind of figuring out what our new patterns are going to be. This is my last year of my son is in college. He's going to be graduating, and who knows what the next chapter looks like, and how often we can ring him back into home during the summers if he's not traveling somewhere.
That happens. That absolutely happens. Well, enough of this nonsense. We've got, well, it's not nonsense. Let's just say this. Let's transition. We've got a storyteller in our midst, Josiah. First of all, welcome to the show. Second, two-part question. Number one is, let's bring you in. You got to have a holiday tradition of some sort. We'd love to hear it. And then tell us what the heck Lucidity Media Group is.
Absolutely. Well, I just want to say, first and foremost, thank you guys so much for having me on the podcast. I absolutely appreciate the opportunity. Yeah, one of my longstanding holiday traditions, especially the more we get closer to Christmas time, is I'm a very big fan of eggnog. I drink a lot of eggnog. And I watched this movie called, I don't know if you guys have seen this. It's called Grandma Got Ran Over by a Reindeer. And that is a classic animated movie, and it's
I have seen it.
fantastic. It's phenomenal. It's hilarious and it's phenomenal. And I have to watch that every single year. If it's not that, and it's probably Polar Express, but I've kind of fallen off Polar Express a little bit because I've seen it so many times.
You're drinking eggnog with all of them, is that right?
Exactly. Eggnog in the hand, it's probably late at night. It's probably 7 o'clock at night, just got
And does your
Christmas
eggnog, I
movies
gotta
on.
ask, does your eggnog have a little something in it?
No, it's plain
No.
eggnog. It's regular old eggnog,
Okay.
try to keep it PG, PG rated,
All
so.
right. Okay. But tell us about Lucidity.
Yeah, absolutely. So Lucidity Media Group is my company. It is a video production agency based in Washington State. It started out in California. That's where I'm originally from, Southern California. And yeah, what we like to do is we pretty much like to showcase amazing business leaders doing great things within their communities. And how we like to do that is we like to do that with video, capturing the things that they do, capturing how they're able to help their customers, and kind of just bring a certain product or service to the community that helps drive a certain result to their customers. We really like to showcase that on video, really drive the story of why they got into business in the first place, what started this, what sparked wanting to pursue that kind of business. These are things that their customers want to know about ahead of time, because they want to feel like they're relating to the person that they're going to buy from. And, oftentimes we hear people buy from people, not brands. So really showcasing these people behind these brands is absolutely paramount to what we like to do.
I love it. You are speaking my language. I actually just want to kind of like ask maybe a little bit deeper, because we can't show your videos, but maybe you could talk a little bit about some of the types of businesses that you work with and some of the types of stories that you tell. Just kind of put a little bit of story around this idea.
Yeah, absolutely. So we work with a litany of different types of businesses, from nonprofits to in-home care businesses to construction companies to we recently just did a video for an in-home care company in Seattle. And one thing about in-home care companies is there's so many of them. You can call up maybe 15, 20 different in-home care companies. So the things that we like to do to help these people stand out in these commoditized industries is we like to tell the story about why they feel like people should be reaching out to them in particular. There's 100 of these different businesses, there's 100 realtors, there's 100 construction companies, but why should we reach out to you, and why should you be the one that people trust that you can get the job done? And being able to showcase their story on behind their education in the field, and what really drives them to get up and do it every day. There are people in their businesses who are doing it just to do it, and there are people in their businesses who are doing it because they understand that this is a dire need that people are looking for help in. And we like to showcase those people in that particular light. So we like to get people on camera and getting them emotionally talking about, this is who I am, and this is the mission that I'm on. And I started this company because there are people that I saw who were struggling. Or maybe if there's a chiropractor, I became a chiropractor because, I understand how, I went through a certain, injury. So I understand the pain that people go through, and I understand the recovery process behind that. People like to hear that. They want to hear that you relate to them, that their particular story. They want to feel like they can fit themselves in your story. And that's going to be able to relate them to the industry that you are serving.
I actually just want to even follow up with that, because that really struck me.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about bringing out these stories from your clients. You talk about with enough passion. That makes me wonder, is there a mission that you are on? Is there a reason why you have a mission that seems to be about giving voice to people that maybe not be heard. Like this sounds like it's connected to something personal.
Man, Craig, that's actually a really fantastic question. I've actually never been asked that before. And I'm glad that you asked that. I think it does stem from wanting to showcase people who don't know that they exist. And I think this also stems from just kind of how I grew up in my childhood, not really being the one who's been in the spotlight, people not really knowing you, not having the biggest amount of friends, that type of thing. You kind of just go through life in your own way, but also understanding that, man, if just people knew about this person, if they just knew about him, like if people just knew about me and what I did, or if they knew that, that I'm friendly and that that I'm joyful, that I like to give back, if they knew that about me, then how would they react and how would that serve them? So understanding that, it's like, there are so many people who are struggling with that, who people just don't have the awareness that they exist. I've met some amazing people since I've been in Washington. I've been in here for the past 2 years now, and I've met some amazing people out here in Washington. And the amount of people that I've met that haven't been showcased to the outside online presence it was amazing to me. So I have a story really quick. When I first came out here, my very first client was by the name of Shane Seaman, and he's actually a part of me and Dan's Rotary Club. And Shane was running for Kitsap judge, and we decided to create a video around it. And I knew that this video was going to work for him because I understood that the community that we live in, people want to get behind people that are doing great, amazing things within their community. They just don't know that people are doing them. So that's the biggest problem, is they don't know you're doing this. You're doing it. As soon as they understand and know that you're doing this, they're gonna get right behind you instantly. So, he was a little skeptical at first about doing it, but we created this video and we were able to, ship it to the online world. Getting people who weren't going to be able to see it are now seeing this guy who's doing this amazing thing in this community, who has all this knowledge and who's trying to make a difference. You weren't going to be able to reach those people by just going to door to door, because some of these people you're reaching are in different states, different cities in Washington. Like they wouldn't have been able to actually get a sense of who you were if this video wasn't created. So understanding that there are great people out there who need to be showcased to other people out there is something that we absolutely are passionate about doing.
So listen, I want to go back to your beginning, because all of us as entrepreneurs, there's something that began the journey, not only to entrepreneurship, but to what we do. And one of the fun things with this podcast is I hear all the different stories. I want to hear yours. What was it at some point in your life, in your youth, at some point, two things happen. Number one is the storytelling factor, which you just said. And number two is the video and the film factor. Where did those come up?
So I think those came up. So I grew up skateboarding, and I grew up really good at skateboarding, really good to the point that I thought I was actually going to take it as a serious career. And I was pursuing it as such too. So when it kind of came to the point that I understood that wasn't going to be the case, it allowed me to sit back and think, okay, what is it that I really am going to do now? Because I had been skating for 10 years. So when I stopped doing that, it was like, okay, like, what am I going to do now? So within skateboarding, there's a lot of photography, there's a lot of videography, there's a lot, because you make a lot of videos to showcase your talents to the people that you would like to be on their sponsorship teams, or, that type of thing. So I knew I was very well-versed in video making just in general. So that's where the video making started. Now, where me actually coming into this business entirely started was, after I stopped skateboarding, I picked up the camera. It was the only thing I was familiar with. I started doing photography, and photography was great, but it felt more like a hobby to me. So then I just flipped the switch on the camera, and started doing video, started making my own videos. And like I said, the experience from video making of skateboarding, just putting B-roll together, trying to match certain clips, trying to line the music up with certain things happening so that something happens on when the beat drops. These types of things is what I learned making skate videos. So I transitioned that into filmmaking, short films, webisodes, travel videos. I was in all types of videos. But it wasn't until one of my really, really good old friends who I used to skateboard with, he had recommended that I look towards doing something more impactful with my videos. So he had recommended this course and this guy who teaches video, just how you can use video to drive a result to a business. That was a completely different mind shift for me on how I can use video to actually create a result for somebody. Because the webisodes and the short films, those were more personal passion projects that weren't really driving a real result for anything. It just felt good to make. But I wanted to figure out how can I use my talents and my skills to actually help somebody in a way that's going to drive their life further and also drive my life further. And that's kind of how I fell into this space.
Wow, that's a great story. Josiah, we have so much more to talk about, but first we got to pay the bills. We're going to take a short break to hear from today's spotlight sponsor. And when we come back with our guest, Josiah Mokelu, for our Hot or Not section of the show, we're going to ask Josiah about obsolescence. He's going to find out when you do. Don't walk away. We'll be right back with more of the Shrimp Tank. EO Accelerator is a coaching program for Seattle area business owners who want to grow their existing small businesses beyond $1 million in revenue. As a small business owner, you face new challenges every day, whether it's deciding how you're going to fill a rush of new orders, puzzling out where to find new customers, or sweating about making payroll. Do you ever find yourself wishing you had an instruction manual for your business? Well, at EO Accelerator, our mission is to empower entrepreneurs with the tools of accountability and community to aggressively grow and master their business. This is more than theory. This is entrepreneurs helping entrepreneurs with top Seattle business leaders who have been where you are, volunteering as coaches and mentors in the Accelerator program. Because listen, the hustle will only get you so far. The next level of success is a team sport. Want to hit $1 million in revenue? Join the club.
All right. I love hearing you pitch that, Dan. Welcome back to the Shrimp Tank, everyone, where we interview the best and the brightest CEOs and thought leaders in the Greater Puget Sound area. I'm Craig Swanson, and today's guest is Josiah Mokelu, excuse me. And for our next segment, we're going to be doing Hot or Not.
Yes, we are, Josiah. This is where Craig and I are going to pepper you with questions about business, about life. I don't know, maybe we'll throw some skateboarding in. I don't know, but we're gonna ask you if the concept or topic is hot or not, and then you're gonna tell us why or why not. So I mentioned obsolescence. That was a little bit of a tease. I try to be a storyteller myself once in a while. But I'm thinking about how many websites I've seen where there's a video up there, but you kind of know almost immediately, this is a little bit dated, right? This is a little bit old. And so my question is, hot or not, changing out your video on a regular, and let's just maybe say an every 2-year basis?
I'm going to say that that's not.
Okay.
And I'm going to say that that's not because if the video is, if it's made and it's structured properly, then that video can be used for 5-10 years, unless now I will say it's hot if you, for a company that is constantly rebranding. Now, if you're constantly rebranding, then you're going to need an updated video. You're going to need to kind of change things around. Or if the video is just bad, then you definitely want to change that. But if it's a strong, solid, genuine video that tells the story of the business how it needs to be, that video can be used for years and years and years and years. And that's really the benefit of a video, is you don't have to sit there and constantly make new videos if you made the right one correctly.
So you caught my attention. This is more about than the video. This is about the script writing, because, you know, the reality is we see the end result, we see the video, But what you're really talking about is the behind the scenes pre-strategic work that's done in creating everything around the copy, the B-roll, all of that. Am I getting that?
Absolutely, yeah, for sure. The biggest part, the most important part when it comes to creating a video is the pre-production. And the pre-production comes into play when you try to figure out, what is this video even for? What are we creating this video? What needs to go into this video? What do we need to showcase? Who needs to be in it? And where does this video need to be? There's so much that goes into that pre-production phase, which will then allow us to know how we want this video to be created. So it's all kind of like a synonymous process. You can't go and create a video that you know is going to last the test of time if in your pre-production, that's not what they were trying to create in the first place. So everything in that pre-production, trying to figure out what we're trying to do, what the goal of this video is, will then allow us to create something that will definitely last 5-10 years.
I love that answer. And in fact, just before I get to my question, I was going to say, my opinion, so many entrepreneurs lose track of the fact that no one else pays as much attention to their business as they do. And people are constantly changing their business messaging because the entrepreneur is bored of it, not because it's not working or not because it's not excellent, but because I'm getting sick of it as the owner. And so therefore I assume the market is getting sick of it.
Yes.
Yeah. So, okay, I'm going to do this in the form of hot or not, but basically hot or not, waiting to be ready to put my story out there. Like, should I be like perfect before I do this?
Not. That is a huge not. Oh my gosh. And I'm so glad you brought this up, because I get that all the time, is when is the right time for me to get my story out there? When is the right time to let people in on my emotional journey, as an entrepreneur? And it should have been a long time ago, because it's really just getting people in line and on your mission with you. People want to learn more about you and your story. Like I said earlier, people buy from people, not brands. Like, if you ever go to a local business or a small business and you see a video of them talking about, yeah, like, me and my mom grew up baking pie since I was 6 years old, and the way she would make the dough and the way she would talk about it, and like, just those words gets the feels in people. And now it's like, oh, she's not just some pie maker. Like, she actually looks at this as like a serious passion. That's who I want to spend my money with, because I know that they look at it completely different. They look at it with a lot more care and attention. But I wasn't able to know that unless I heard her story about it. Like I said, there's a million realtors out there. There's a million, graphic designers, videographers, even. It's why. It's that why is so big. It's like, why did you decide to do this? And what sparked that within you? Because we can feel that through the screen. We can feel it through your conviction and how you say things, how you explain it. And that's going to get the emotional, feeling inside of me riled up to want to make a decision. We buy emotionally. I think Harvard did a study that says 95% of purchasing decisions are made emotionally. So if you think about every time you're going to make a purchasing decision, you get this emotional feeling. Well, how can you get that emotional feeling when somebody's about to make a purchase? Get them to understand your story, and get them to understand your story genuinely, and see what difference that makes in your business. So I would say definitely not hot. Get your story out as soon as possible. As soon as you go into business, document your journey.
So, Craig, I don't know if you know this, because I was going to ask this as a hot or not, but I'm not, because it's too much of a softball. I was a testimonial video for a client of mine. This is actually, I think, where I first met Josiah, even before Rotary. I actually got to put the microphone on and get all nice and pretty and talk. And Josiah actually came out to the golf course and got me hitting some golf balls. I did look to make sure that the swing looked good before he put it on. That I did. I have to admit, I looked. But I was going to ask if testimonial videos are hot or not. We know testimonial videos are hot. Two parts to this. Number one is, why is it important that somebody use an expert, someone like you, to get the testimonials, as opposed to maybe just sticking a camera, your iPhone in their face and say something nice about me? Why a professional? And then the second part is, there are so many, because we're so global, I have clients all over the country. Can you do the same level of testimonial video on like Zoom?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question, Dan. And to answer your question, it's extremely important to have a professional do the testimonials, because there's a way that we can get certain answers out of the person that we're interviewing. So a good videographer knows how to ask the right proper questions to get the emotional side of things out of a person. It's easy to interview anybody. It's so easy to interview anybody. You can ask them what their name is, what they do, how were they helped, like all those types of things. But as a professional videographer who interviews on a consistent basis, and it's my job to get the story out of people and get that emotional side out of people, it's knowing what kinds of questions you want to ask, and at what moment do you want to ask them, and what tone of voice do you want to ask them as well. These are so important, because now you're allowing the person who's answering these questions to answer them in a very positive, genuine way that doesn't feel scripted, that doesn't feel like they're thinking of what to say. That's something you get a lot, is if you're not well versed in the space, the way you ask questions is important, because the person answering is going to start to think too hard about their answers. And they're going to start thinking, okay, I want to say this big industry jargon word so that people get the perception that I'm smart and that I know what I'm talking about. That is not at all what interviewing is about. It's all about figuring out, how were you helped? How was the problem solved? And what was the feelings like when you walked in and when you walked out? But we have to know that in a very concise, story-driven way. So that's why it's really important to have an expert in the field do it, because they know how to answer, they know how to ask these questions, in a way that's going to allow the prospect to answer them very genuinely, and emotionally, which is what everybody wants. It's the best thing when you can get somebody crying on camera from an interview. It's amazing. And the second question, can you give me a second part of the question? I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, Zoom, or some other video platform, to make it easier when you have somebody who might be across the country.
Yeah, absolutely. So a cool thing about, when you're in this space and you've been doing it for so long, the equipment doesn't matter at all. You can film the best testimonial video over Zoom, on a phone, on a camcorder, on a calculator. If you could record on a calculator, it doesn't matter. You could, on anything you record. It's really just understanding how you want to interview. So the equipment has nothing to do with the interview. We can be, I can be in one state, and the interviewee can be in a completely different state, and we're over Zoom, and it's still knowing how to ask these questions. So to go back to the in-home care company that we just finished videos for, we did a couple of interviews with the employees over Zoom. We had to Zoom these interviews. So I was, I'm sitting there and I'm on the Zoom, but it's the questions that you are asking. It's, how are you enjoying the job in a way that you felt like you weren't going to when you first started? What are these things that you weren't expecting that you see now, and how do you handle them, accordingly? It's it's really trying to figure out the person that you're talking to, instead of just trying to get the interview over with. You have to be very interested in the person that you're talking to, no matter what it is that the topic is about. You have to be interested. So whether it's over Zoom, or it's on the phone, or it's on a $20 camera, it doesn't matter what it's filmed on. It's just, how is this interview? How are you driving the emotion out of this person being interviewed? It's the biggest problem.
I am really loving this conversation, and it's kind of throwing off my whole hot or not thing, because I was going to ask you for the next hot or not, what's the most important for storytelling, audio or visual, or storytelling. I'm just curious from your standpoint, because you're a videographer, you're out there selling yourself. What's most important when you're selling yourself to clients? Is it your ability to interview? Is it your ability to capture visual images that are striking, your audio? Like what is the combination for you that's most important when you're talking
I
to
think
customers?
the most important thing that comes up is a lot of, they just want to know, are you capable of capturing what it is I have visioned in my head? That's the biggest thing. Is people have a vision when they come to me, when they want to do videos, they want to get things done. They have a vision of what they want this video to look like. They have a vision of how they want this project to be. So when they, when we're sitting there having a conversation and they're like, yeah, um, I want to have the owner walking and capture them walking, and I'm like, I know exactly what you're trying to do. Like I know exactly what you're trying to portray. I know the character and story that you're trying to portray in this video. So then, when they try to explain it, they try to over explain it. So, but I always try to let them know, I know exactly what it is that you're talking about. That's what you're trying to do, because we've been in this space for so long. We've been doing this for so long that, them explaining, yeah, I would really like to get them, on camera and really talk about, I already know why you want to do this. I know exactly what we're doing this for. And now it's just understanding what the goal of it is. So it really is just them understanding, I have a vision for what I want this video to look like, because when people start to make their own videos for the first time, they're very skeptical and they don't want things to go wrong, because videos, when they're done right, they look amazing. They look so good. You get such good feelings from them when you watch them. So people don't want to mess that up when they invest thousands and thousands of dollars on their first videos. So they come to me and they're like, are you able to capture this how I have it in my head? And once they understand that we are able to put it on the screen how they have it in their mind, then that's when they're like, oh yeah, we definitely want to work with you. And so that's probably the biggest thing, is, do they trust you enough to put their vision to life?
I'm having so much fun, Craig. I can't believe it. We're up against the proverbial clock. We're going to take our second break. We got a lot more to talk with Josiah on, so we're going to take that second short break to hear from our corporate sponsors. And when we come back with our guest, Josiah Mokelu, for our Plead the Fifth section of the show, we're going to ask Josiah to be a little bit vulnerable. Don't walk away. We'll be right back with more of the Shrimp Tank. And Plead the Fifth is brought to you by our corporate sponsors, Ideal Life 360, Cornerstone Financial, First Underwriters Insurance, BC Fitness Studio, Port Ludlow Resort. Please visit our website at www.shrimptankpodcast.com/Seattle to learn more about these terrific companies. Now back to the show.
All right. Thanks, Dan, and welcome back to the Shrimp Tank, where we're interviewing the best and the brightest from around the greater Washington area. I'm Craig Swanson, and our guest today is Josiah Mokelu for our next segment, Plead the Fifth.
So we're going to turn up the heat here, Josiah. We're going to ask you some questions that might make you squirm a little bit. We'll see. We're going to have some fun. But you can plead the fifth, but you can only do it once. So if you plead that fifth early, you never know what's going to happen. So I'm going to throw the vulnerability one right out away. We all as entrepreneurs, we struggle with things. We sometimes can be our own worst critics, right? Share with us something where you struggle with, where you are too critical of yourself, of what, where you can see that you can try to improve as an entrepreneur.
I think one area that I could struggle with far too often is the comparison game with with people within your industry as well. Especially with people who have been within the industry for decades and decades, so there's really no comparison between you guys, but still just seeing, the type of stuff that they're doing and the things that they're pursuing, it kind of gives you that, like, am I doing this right? Am I cut out for this? Is that something that I would ever be able to get to? Is that a point that I'd be able, to get to? So I think that's probably one of the biggest things, coming up here 2 years ago, starting the business up again from California, you kind of go through that sense of, am I cut out for this? Is this something that I'm absolutely capable of accomplishing? And, I read a lot of books. I have a lot of mentors. I talk to a lot of people, and understanding that that's a completely normal feeling throughout this entire journey of entrepreneurship does it does make you kind of at ease with, you know, these certain thoughts that do come in that aren't so pleasant, because they are, at the end of the day, they are just thoughts and they are just feelings. You know, they're going to come in, you're going to feel them. It's all about how you respond to them and how you and not react, but how you respond to them. So I think that's probably the biggest thing that I would tend to struggle with is the comparison game, which a lot of us tend to struggle with. You know, you see somebody within your same industry who's doing it large, you know, and you're kind of like, that'd be nice, you know. But like I said, it being a normal thing, you just kind of let it ride and you respond accordingly.
All right. Yeah, that speaks to me a lot, actually. So I've worked with a lot of videographers, and a lot of videographers often, I was going to ask you about where you learned. I was going to ask you where you learned these skills, but actually I'm really more curious, where did you learn about people, about telling the stories of people? Because there's a lot of wisdom that I'm hearing from you that is somewhat actually uncommon in a lot of videographers that I've talked to. So where did that come from? If Dan had not talked about your age at the beginning, I would have tacked on a decade to where you are, just from like wisdom and presentation wise. So
Yeah.
At your stage, where did you pick this up?
That's also a great question, Craig, because honestly, I think it all stems from just kind of just the life that I grew up living. You know, the specific experiences that I've just had to put myself through growing up. You know, when I think about my journey as a videographer, I can't recall times where I've, you know, really have learned people and learned how to talk to people and learned how to, you know, share stories from these people. It's really just more about me as a person being curious enough in other people that, you know, just what I do is it kind of just bodes well with what I do. You know, I'm a very big people person. I know how to talk to people. I know how to have conversations. You know, I know how to relate to people, because I think, like I said, growing up, you know, when you grow up in a very kind of neglectful way, you know, in a very harsh childhood, you know, there's certain things that you pick up that it kind of shape shifts your character growing up. And there are things that you see growing up that you vow not to be or not to give your energy to. Or, you know, I grew up like this. I grew up feeling like nobody could relate to me or nobody could talk to me. So this day moving forward, everybody that I talk to, I'm going to make them feel like they have no issues with me. They're going to feel like I know them. You know, I'm going to make them feel as comfortable as possible. So I think it stems from the type of childhood that I had growing up that allowed me to feel more curious about just people in general. You know, so I think that's kind of what has helped me within this journey of being able to showcase these people. So having the curiosity of wanting to learn more about people and who they are and their experiences and what they're doing, tied with the fact that I can showcase them, you know, to a broader audience, is just a match made in heaven.
So I want to talk about what I'm going to call the art and science of what you do. So what you just talked about is the art, the ability to interview people, the ability to be present with them, to ask the right questions, to do all of that. That to me is art. Now you're taking the science part, or I'm calling it science, where you said we need to match that up with the right beat of the music or the right B-roll or something like that. So it seems like there are two different things that are colliding together, that you're getting all the great information, you've got the interview, now you've got to match it up, because that's going to build the emotion. Where did you learn the latter? We just talked about where you kind of came across the former, but where did you learn the latter, to say, oh, it needs to be at this beat. It needs to be, the music needs to enter here. The B-roll needs to enter here. Where did that come from?
Now that solely came from editing skate videos. Because now with skate videos, you learn a lot. Now with skate videos, there's certain parts of the song where you want the person landing the trick when that beat drops, you know, because it just creates this like, whoa emotion. It's like, oh my God, you know, it's like when you're watching a movie and like it's an action scene and like some ball hits the ground as soon as the beat drops, and it's just like this synonymous, like, oh my goodness, this is, you know, it just has this punch to it. That's that's how I learned. It was the editing skate videos, knowing, when the moment of impact, when that needs to come, hearing the music, knowing like the song that you're going to use when editing, and knowing and visualizing how you want the video to look while listening just to the song by itself is big too. Because with the song, you pretty much play the video how you want it to look without it being edited yet. So that when you start editing it, you're editing how you saw it in your mind. And that was just a quick process. So skate videos it was a complete game changer for me. And with skate videos as well, there's a lot of B-roll in there too. There's a lot of showcasing the personality of a person as well, because sponsorships want to see that. It's, yeah, you have all this talent, but who are you? Are you funny? Are you excited to be around? Are you joyful? Are you shy? Those are the types of B-roll that you would showcase within the skate video to just showcase the type of personality that you have. So whether it's me just sitting there on the curb laughing, talking to a friend, or, we're playing rock, paper, scissors, or, like we're play fighting, show that B-roll showcases the personality of the person as well. So now you got the story, but how can we actually drive this home? And that's showcasing everything that's within the story.
All right. So I think for my last question, I want to kind of jump back for a moment, and you talked a lot about yourself as a skater, as a kid earlier on. What advice, for everything you've learned, what advice would you give a kid right now listening, if kids are listening, about from what you've learned over the last decade, that they could take with them, that they could do something interesting with their life?
Well, I think one thing that I learned, and I'm also just really big on like helping people figure themselves out, figure out what they want to do in life and just pursuing that. One thing that I've learned is that it can only be one thing, and go for that one thing only. You hear a lot of times that you could be whatever you want in life, or you just, put your mind to it. It sounds very cliche, but when you actually dive more into it and you learn more about all the intricate parts about the industry. Okay, like I make videos, but there's so many things about me making videos that I had to learn: marketing, sales, how to talk to clients, just how to kind of market myself as a person, all that type of stuff. Yeah, I can make a video, but me starting as a video production company, I would have never known that all these other minor things around it also came into you can be what you want, you just have to dive fully into it. So I think it's fully understanding, like, if you want to be one thing and that one specific thing, there are going to be a litany of things that you do not want to do around that one thing. But if it's actually what you want done, and it's the life that you are vowing to pursue, then those are the things that you just have to embrace. You don't have to enjoy them, but you have to embrace them. And once you embrace them enough that it becomes easier for you to do, then the thing that you love to do becomes easier. So it really is embrace the suck. That's what I would say. Embrace the suck, because a lot of things are going to suck, but the thing that you're looking for is just completely on the other side. So you'll see a lot of people don't get what they want because they don't like to embrace the suck. They like to stay in their comfort zone. So just embrace the suck, and you will absolutely thank yourself for it.
I love it. Josiah, thank you so much for being a guest here on the Shrimp Tank. We've really had a great time. For listeners that want to get in touch with you, learn more about what you have to offer, and maybe want to get you to help tell their story, help them tell their story, where can they get more information?
Yeah, absolutely. You guys can go ahead and I have a website. You can reach me on my website, luciditymedia.group. I'm also all over Facebook, Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn as well, Josiah Mokelu, or Lucidity Media Group. You can find us all over the web.
All right, fantastic. And for those of you watching, make sure that you catch all the replays for this show and past shows at shrimptankpodcast.com/Seattle, and wherever you get your podcast, whether it's iHeartRadio, Apple, Google, Overcast, my favorite. Please follow us on your show's media page, and or follow us on your podcast listener, and take a like on our media pages on YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram.
Well, first of all, Josiah, man, it was great to have you on. Really, really enjoyed it. I hope people now have a better understanding of you. Thank you for being on. I know I'm going to see you probably this Friday. So I'll say happy holidays, but I think I'm going to see you before that. Craig, I may not see you before the new year. I think our next show will be in 2024. So I wish you and your family a very happy holiday season as well, including watching that classic Christmas movie, Die Hard. So go for it and enjoy the time with your family. Everybody, do exactly what Craig said. Like us on our Facebook page. That's where we live stream every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Pacific. Our next show will be December 13th. Hugh Blaine, another return. Well, he's a return guest for us. We've had several this year. Hugh is going to return. Our co-host for the show will be Linda Popke. In the meantime, be safe, be well, and be prosperous, because until next week, that shrimp, it's back in the tank. So long.
I've been feeling like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond in the shrimp